Hi, in the previous video we have seen how to create a very simple navbar using this navbar simple component of the dash bootstrap component there, right? And over there we have seen like we can create a very simplistic navbar using this one navbar simple, where like we have a option just to simple put a string for that brand and couple of nav link over there we have created over there, right? Now in this video we'll be using this Navbar component to create very advanced kind of navigation bar in Plotly Dash application. Okay, so we will try to create this kind of navigation bar today. Let me show you. Like we'll have a logo, we can have our brand name over here, then we have our couple of nav links over here, then we can put like some social media icons over here like GitHub, Twitter and YouTube, so that when we will be clicking on it, like if you just open it, it will directly go to our, if I just open this GitHub link, so it will directly point to our repository of that app, right? So this kind of stuff we'll be doing it, as well as we'll have a search bar over here in our navigation bar as well. So we will try to see how to create this one in this video. So if we just start off where we left in the previous video, so we have created, so if I just run this particular app over here, so we have just created this simple navigation bar over here, right? So we will try to modify this one today. Now so let me go back to the documentation. So because we will be referring this documentation very frequently, so to create a navigation bar, a advanced navigation bar where you have full control of the different elements of this navbar, where you want to place it and what, so that thing you need to use this navbar component first. Okay, that is the first thing. Now to implement that, you need to understand the grid layout of the Bootstrap. Okay, so if I just go to the Bootstrap documentation for the grid system, so this is how it works over here. So it's basically it's derived from the Flexbox layout. If you are from the CSS background, you should have known that one, but if you are not, so let me try to explain in a very layman term. So here in the grid layout, you will be basically you will be placing your components. Component means I am talking about your contents of the page. Okay, so that content you will be placing in a row column format. Over here, if you see, like they have created a simple row with this class row over here, correct? And they have created 3 columns over here. If you see column 1, column 2 and column 3, and your content basically, like let's say if you are creating a button, or if you are creating a drop down, or if you are just giving a simple text over here, so that content will be coming as under the column over here, under this column over. For each and every column will be basically a wrapper for your content here. Okay, so that's how the full page you can design using Bootstrap. And if you see, like this row and column, it needs to be placed inside a container. So that's why they have created this class called container. Now when you create a container, what happens is it basically append some spaces, some padding at the left and right hand portion of your overall contents. If you see this page is also defined as this structure only, grid structure only. That's why if you see this blank space over here and blank space over here, so this is because of this container only. Okay, so we will not assign these classes to our component, but we will do in a dash way. Okay, so in dash we already have provision to create container and rows and columns using that dash bootstrap component, so that we will be using it today. Okay, and once you create your content, now you can use several CSS properties to modify their position. Okay, how they will be distributed horizontally, vertically, what will be their alignment, everything you can change. So we'll talk about some of the properties today as well, whichever is required. Whichever is not required, probably we can go through the documentation, but anyway, whatever we'll be discussing today, it should be enough to create at least a fair navigation bar in Dash. Okay, so let me try to open the navigation. So if I go to apps, so we have created this navigation.py file there, correct? So initially we have created this one using the simple navbar. So I will comment it out now. Okay, so we will create this navbar again with the advanced stuff here. Okay, so as I said, the initial wrapper would be your container. So we already have our dash bootstrap component imported over here. Okay, now if I just go back to the documentation, go back over here, so everything like your row, columns, and even your container should be inside navbar. Okay, so that's the thing, because this will make sure like these things will be part of your navigation bar. So let us try to do that. So we will say dbc dot navbar. We'll be using this one instead of navbar simple. Okay, so this will be our initial wrapper over here. Now, as I said, we will be using bootstrap grid layout over here. That means we'll need to create our rows and columns and container. So this is how we will be creating. So if I just go back to the documentation again, so they are if you see this example over here, so they have created the container using dbc.container over here, and this is how they will be creating the rows, dbc.row, and this is how they will be creating the columns, dbc.column. So instead of giving a class name, this is how we will be creating it over here. Okay, so let us create our container. We will try to create in a similar way. We'll keep these two things, color dark and dark equals to true. So even though initially also we have done that, so we can keep these two settings. This is fine. So we will say, so inside our navbar we will create dbc dot container over here first. Okay, now inside the container we will have our rows and columns, correct? So that means we need to create a array over here, because if we see the design we want to create these elements over here. That means this all will be part of my container over here. Now this is how I have planned to create. So I will be creating this logo and this brand name as a separate row. Okay, so I will explain why I will be creating like this one. Then I will be creating this nav elements as a separate row, and this social media elements and this search as a separate row, so that we can place them. Because if you see it, like from this social media icons to the search, I need to keep it at the right side of this navigation bar, right? And other thing at the left side of this navigation bar, so that I can easily position them. Okay, that's why I am taking that approach. Now according to your need, you can take your approach as well. Okay, so that's why if I just go back over here, so inside my container I will have an array over here, correct? So basically I will have an array. Now inside that array, so first thing is, as I said, I will be having 3 rows over there, right? So that means I will be creating a row called dbc dot row over here, correct? Now I will be creating the first row. Now if I just show the picture, first I'll be creating this logo as well as this brand name over here. Okay, we'll see how it is getting displayed. We will try to reason through it why it is happening over there. So dbc.row, again it will be an array, right? Because it will have multiple elements. One is an image, our logo image, another is the navigation brand over here. Now to create an image, we can use the dash HTML component, and to create the navigation brand, navbar brand, so there is a option called navbar brand, which is only available for this navbar type of navigation bars. Okay, so we can use these things over here. Even if you see like dash HTML, using the dash HTML.image also we can create an image over here. Now if I just go to the dash documentation, so for dash open source component library under dash HTML component, so this is the one you will be using for your image creation, for your logo display over here. Okay, so you can read it through its different properties. So today we will be using the similar one code, whatever is available over here. We just need to give the source of that image as well as some height over here. Okay, you can change that height as well. So as I said, the content of your navigation bar or web page, if you are using dash grid layout, basically the bootstrap grid layout, it will be under column. That's why if you see, they have created under dvc.col. So we will have similar approach over here. Okay, so we will create dvc.col. Okay, dvc.col. Now again, inside that call, we will be creating two components over here. That's why I'll be having an array over here. Okay, so inside that call, I'll have one HTML image and navigation bar over here. Okay, so let us try to copy this code. So I'll say HTML image here. I will explain our image as well. So this will be our HTML image. We still not defined our logo. We will define our logo. In the example, they have used the Plotly logo, and we will have our navigation brand here, right? dvc.nav brand. So here you can give a string which will act as a brand name over there. Okay, so similar stuff we have done for the simple navigation bar as well, but over there, if you just see it, we have option something like brand equals to brand name, right? As a properties of this Navbar simple. Here they have a separate component over here itself to create the nav bar. That's the difference. So now, so first thing is, it is complaining about HTML. That means we need to import that. I can use this one over here. So navigation, I'm keeping this older approach as well, like import dash HTML component as HTML, because if some of you are using the older version of dash, you can just uncomment this line, and you can comment this line and uncomment this guy over here. That should work over here. Okay, for newer version of dash, this is how you will be importing the HTML from dash import HTML. So that is fine. Now the Plotly logo. So let us get a logo file. Now here one thing we will be doing is, and it is a best practice as well in Plotly dash, because here the dash app needs to serve an image which you want to display in your app over here, correct? So it is always a good practice, you will be creating a assets folder over here. Okay, so assets. So if you want to use your own images, CSS files, JS file in dash apps, you should be always creating this assets folder and keep your files over there. Okay, so dash will automatically serve those files. So you just need to call that method and get it. For CSS and JS, it will automatically serve that file from there. You can directly access it. So this is good thing. Let me paste that image. Let me put an image over there. So I just copied that image. So we will be using this horrible looking guy today as our logo over there. Okay, so once we have that, so how we can access it? In our code, we can access something like this one. We need to import app as well. First we need to import app. So in our navigation py, I will just import app over here, and you can write app dot get asset URL. Okay, and it will be basically, you just need to give your logo file name over here, which is logo2.png, right? Logo2.png here. So that will solve my logo issue here. Okay, let us see how it looking like now. If you see it, like this is my logo, and I have a nav bar over here. I can give a meaningful name, which I used to do it. I can give the Plotly deep learning app. Okay, so that's my brand name over here. So once I do that, so that should be reflected over here as well. Now let us try to create another row then we'll talk about some important properties over there. Okay, so we have created our row over here, first row. Okay, so the next row, similar way we'll be creating it, correct? So we will have our row, column, and then inside the column we will have our elements over there, right? So let us try to create the second row over here, which will hold these guys over here. Okay, so we'll say dbc dot row over here. Now inside this row also I will have multiple elements, correct? So that's why I'm creating an array here. Now inside that row I will be creating my dbc dot column over here. Again, this column will have all these elements over here, right? So that's why it will be an array as well. So I'll just create that array. Now we will be creating this navigation elements over here, correct? So whatever we are seeing it over here, these are called the navigation elements. Now if you just go back to the documentation, for the nav elements dash recommends, like if you see this line, we recommend using the nav component to wrap the navigation items over here. Okay, now if you want to know about the nav component, so you can, from this side menu bar, you can see it from here, which I already opened it over here. So this is the nav component, which we very briefly discussed when we talked about simple navigation bar, correct? So we have nav item, we have nav link if you want to create a nav link, and inside that nav item, or even inside that nav, you can have your drop down as well over there, which we previously created there, right? So if I just see the code which previously done that, so these are the nav item and nav link, we have used it before, right? And the drop down menu. So we are going to do it similar way, but this time what we'll be doing is we'll be wrapping it up inside a nav element there. Okay, so we will be doing dvc dot nav here. Okay, and inside the nav again we will be creating multiple elements, so that's why it's an array. Now inside the nav we'll put our elements one by one. This is our home link here, right? So let us copy that. This is our home link. Then I want to create another link called fundamentals, so let us do that one. Let us create that one over here as well. So I will name it as fundamentals. Fundamentals over here, MENTALS, fundamentals here, and the link will be fundamentals here as well. Okay, we will code it the corresponding changes later. So we have created this link as well. Then I will just make that model showcase out as well, and I'll keep that drop down as well. In future we are going to change it. So I'll just copy this model showcase code portion over here as well. So these are all the elements of nav over here, right? So then we have the drop down for the model showcase as well. So we will create in similar way. So the only thing is that we will just wrap it inside the nav item, dbc dot nav item over here, and then inside that we will just create our drop down menu over here, dbc dot drop down over here, right? So this is the code portion. So let us copy that. Copy. So this is our drop down as well. So let us try to uncomment it, and I will keep it over here. So this is my drop down menu over here as well. So let us keep these things over here. So we have created these things over here, and for the drop down we will just keep the same code. Nav equals to true, is navbar equals to true, level equals to more, whatever I have explained in the previous video. We will just keep those same settings over there as well. Okay, so now for the nav, if I just go over here and see the properties of nav, so if you are using inside a nav bar, so you have to set it as true over here. Navbar equals to true. Okay, so that thing required, so let us do that. So our nav is getting finished. So this is our nav array is getting finished over here, correct? So we will give a comma and we will say navbar equals to true. Navbar equals to true here, correct? So this is our nav related settings over here. So let us save it and see it how it's going over there. If you see it, like I have created these things over here, okay, that this coloring is not yet coming. We will see what's going on over there, but at least we are able to create this thing. Now if you see it, if we just go to inspect, now here is the thing. If I just show over here, if you see it, like this is our whole container, correct? So this is our whole container, which is currently having two rows, row 1 and row 2 here, right? Two elements over here inside the container. Now each and every row has, first row has two elements over here, correct? In each and every row has single columns, which is having first row having two elements over here. One is that logo, another is that navigation brand. And in the second row, we have a single column, and inside that column I have three elements over here, right? This navigation items over here. And if you see, like, as this is a grid system, right? So these two things, these two rows are evenly distributed inside the container, okay? That means if I create third element, those three elements will be again horizontally distributed inside the container over there. Now you can play around with individual column level width as well, okay? Now that width, maybe I'll just show you in the documentation. So if I just go to layout and see the documentation for row and column. So for column, you can give width, which is basically specify the width of a particular column. Now Bootstrap grid system has like a 12 column based system. That means, so let's say if I just go back over here, so let's say if I give the column width as 6 for these two columns here, so maximum 2 columns I can hold it over here. If I just add another column, so that column will basically come into the new line of this navigation bar over here, okay? So that's why that is the width of the column. So now width can have multiple values, like either you can just mention it as Boolean value, which is true, or you can give a range of values like 1 to 12, okay? Or you can give a dictionary which can have these values like offset. Offset means like from, so let's say if I just go back over here again, if I give offset equals to 3, that means those 3 columns width, it will basically push it at the right side over here. So this is the offset one. And you can give the order as well, like, and if I just go back to documentation, and size means it is the same as width. So either you can give directly width as some value, or you can give a dictionary kind of stuff as well over there, okay? And if you give width equals to auto, so what will happen, like if you see it here, so this model showcase fundamentals, so there is a certain length of this content over here, right? So if you give width equals to auto, so it will try to maintain that particular column width based on that content over there, okay? So based on the content length. So based on that, if you see it, like I have created a single column over here. If you required to have this link label customization, you can have these links in a separate column. Then you can give your own width, own offset over there as well. So you can play around those stuff over here as well, okay? So let me show you like how you can give that this, so it will be part of the column, right? So here I can give something like this one, comma. So let's say I just want to set size equals to auto or width equals to auto. So either I can give width width equals to auto or some values 1 to 12, or I can pass a dictionary over here, and I can mention size is auto over here. So both of these things are possible over here. If you are using dictionary, you can pass more values like offset and those stuff over there. So it is always, I always prefer this syntax over here. Okay, so you can give this width. I can give this width in my this column over here as well, correct? So comma width over here. Okay, anyhow this will not make much difference because I have created a single column which is having this item, so it is automatically populated over here. Okay, so let us go back. Now there is another concept called alignment. So if I just see if I can show you, if you see, this is the horizontal alignment, right? So how two elements inside a row will be, or inside a container will be placed over here. Okay, you can either do left justify or right justify. Basically when you talk about a container, so let me show you here as well. So this is also another good thing to know. So if you just talk about a container, so this container has this portion, the left hand portion is the start end and right hand portion is the end of the container, right? So based on that you can place those elements over here either from the start or from the end. Okay, like this one, you can see these examples over here. These are the properties of rows over here. So this justify is like how you will be placing those elements inside a row horizontally. Okay, how you'll be aligning it, and if you want to align it vertically, so there is another property called align over here. So these two things you need to know over here as well. Okay, if you see it like, so just like start and end, this is like the top and bottom, right? So this is also start, center and end over here. So this is also, these three things also you can use it over here as a value of align over here. Okay, so for our case we want to align it at the center, so we will update that one as a properties of row, as I said it over there. Okay, so here for both of this row I can add this properties, align equals to, so let's say center over here, CNTR over here, and for let me copy this one and I can add it for this row as well, correct? So this one and this one over here, align equals to center. Now there is another concept called gutters over here. So this is also cool. Like I'd encourage you to go through this one, so just to know like different properties, CSS properties you can set for Bootstrap components. It is not possible to basically discuss each and every properties over here. Whatever I am trying to discuss, I have used it over here in my code. I am just trying to go through it over here, but rest of the properties you can still go through it just to know, like whenever you have some new requirement for your navigation bar, right? So you can explore this stuff over here as well. So for gutter, if you see, like if I just go over here and for each and every component, it basically adds a space over here. If you see it, like the padding over here, correct? So you can remove that padding by mentioning it as a gutter. So that is what this particular setting is. So you have horizontal gutters, vertical gutters as well. Okay, so in actual Bootstrap, if you are setting this up in a HTML, so you will be using something like the class gx for the horizontal, gy for the vertical, and there is a settings called g as well, which basically do for both, like horizontal and vertical. So if you want to remove both, so you can just mention g0 over here, so that should be fine. Okay, so let us try to use that one in our here as well. Okay, so I can just write class name. So there are two class names. The first one is deprecated here, this one. If you see the documentation, you should be using the second one. Okay, so class name is G0 here. Okay, so I can save it. So that will remove that space from my this one. See if I just refresh it. Okay, so we talked about some properties of the columns for that Bootstrap grid layout, right? So let us try to fix this coloring stuff over here, because currently it is not showing the desired color we wanted to have. I think it is because of we have missed this one. Navbar, we have this color dark and dark equals to true, right? So okay, I just wanted to put color primary here. So what I'll do is I'll copy this. We'll do the similar stuff whatever we have put for our simple navbar initially, right? So I can copy this one. Now this is the property of the navbar, right? So let us go back over here. Now our navbar is this one over here. So what I can do is I can give a comma and then I can provide these two things over here. Okay, let's save it. Let us try to see whether this fixed this things or not. Yes, if you see it, like now our initial color is back now. So let us move on and let us try to add those social media elements, basically social media icons, as well as the search bar. So we will follow the similar approach. We will create another row. So as I have initially told you my approach over here, so this will be another row for me so that I can place it accordingly. Okay, so let us go back over here to our navigation.py. Now we are working on this file. So we have actually finished the row over here. So this is the second row. So let us move on. Let us create the third row over here. dbc dot row over here. Okay, now in that row, as I said, it will be an array over here where we'll be putting our columns value over here, right? So similar stuff, dbc dot call over here. Now inside my column I will be having like 3 social media icons and as well as my search bars there, right? So let us try to put them inside a nav as well over there. So what I'll do is, so inside the call I will have a dbc dot nav over here. Okay, and inside the nav, as I'll be creating multiple elements, so I'll just create an array over here. So let me do that one here, from here. Okay, so here I need to create those social media icons here, right? So for that, if you just go to Bootstrap documentation -- Bootstrap component documentation, so there is a thing called icons here. So there are 2 types of icons you can use with your dash app. One is that dash Bootstrap icon itself or font awesome. So anyone you can use it, but for that you need to include that style sheet, because by default those icons do not come with the predefined style sheet. Now I'll be using Bootstrap icons. So if I just go there, so there are a lot of icons available. So let me refresh the page. I think there is some issue. So there are a lot of icons available, so which you can search it. So but before that, as I will be using the Bootstrap icons, so I need to include this dbc icons.bootstrap in my app.py as a external style sheet, right? So let us do that one first. In my app.py, after this theme, I'll add this guy over here as well. Okay, so this is done. Now let us go back to the navigation.py and let us go back to this Bootstrap icons. So yeah, so now so let us go back to our picture. So first icon is our GitHub, right? So if I just search Git here, if you see there are two icons over here. Any one you can use it. I'll be using this one here. So just you need to remember, like if you see the example over here, they have included it in that I tag over here, right? The similar stuff we will be doing it in the dash as well. Now how you will be doing it? If I just go back to the documentation, so for dash HTML component, so there is a I here, right, which is basically nothing but the I tag. So we will be using this guy over here, so nothing fancy, right? So and we'll be also wrapping it up inside that nav item and nav link as well, okay, because it should work as a link over here. So what I'll do is this thing, right, dbc nav item nav link. I'll just copy a simple code. I will come up over here, I will paste it. Now instead of home, it will be html dot I over here, right? So this I over here. Now here we need to basically provide the class name, similar stuff, class name. Now if as I am first creating that GitHub icon, so this is the GitHub class name. I will just provide it over here. So let us give that. Now as it is a nav link, so I can create a href over here. Now this href will be my GitHub repo link over here, right? So let me copy that one. So this is the link I will be providing. So if you just see this link in a browser, so this will basically take you to the GitHub where you can see the current app we are building it, right? So all the codes are available for that in that particular link. So it will be useful for us to keep that link handy as well, so that whenever it's needed we can refer it. So that's the link we will be providing in our app as well over here for the GitHub. Okay, now if you see the nav link documentation, let me go back and show it to you. Nav link over here. Now if you are providing a href and that particular link is a external link, like just like GitHub, so you can keep this one true so that it will be refreshing the page whenever it will be loading that link over there. Okay, so for that I will be providing that external link equals to true as well in my code. Okay, so I'll just copy this guy, external link, and I will come up over here. So this is my href comma external link equals to true over here. Okay, so that should be creating a GitHub link in my Navbar. So let me see that one. So now name true is not defined. So let me see if something is okay. This is true, true. So let us save it. Let us try to run the index.py again because it is failed over there. Now nav item received the external link. I think somewhere I have misplaced that external link over here. So let me see that. Okay, so nav link is here. So I just given it outside of the nav link. I need to give inside over here, inside the bracket. Okay, so let's see whether this is fixed or not. I think it is. Now if I just go back over here, let it refresh. Okay, so we created our GitHub link over here. So similarly we will be creating the other links. So if I just go back to the navigation.py, so let me copy this line of code from here. So I'll just quickly do it for the other items as well. Okay, so we need to create 3 links, one for GitHub, another for Twitter, another for YouTube. So similar way I'll be searching here, right, in that Bootstrap icon library, and I'll be providing the class name over there. So as I already have that, so I'll just copy that code over here. It is nothing fancy. So for Twitter it will be this one, and for YouTube the class is YouTube over here. Okay, bi dash YouTube over here. Now for the Twitter I will just provide the my channel Twitter link, official Twitter link. So it is just splunk_ml, that Twitter handle. Okay, so if I just show you this one, so this will be my Twitter handle over here. Okay, so probably like when, let's say if in any day you are watching this particular video and like decided to work on this particular code base, maybe you can give me a shout out in the Twitter and just to exchange information and just to let me know like how you feel, like how this code is helpful, or probably if you are facing any issue or not, you can tag me over there as well. So let's move on. For YouTube, I'll just provide this algorithms channel YouTube link over here. Okay, so we created three social media icons in our navigation bar over here. So once I save that, let me see. Okay, so these three are done over here. Now we have to create a search box and a search button. So it will be very easy. So what I'll do is I'll directly go back to this documentation. So there is already a search bar and search button over here, if you see it. So I can just directly copy that code. Okay, so for that, what I need to do is I need to basically this thing over here, right? I need to create a search input, nothing but it's a text input and a button over here. So I'll just copy this one to create a search bar. So let us come over here and do this. So this will create the search text box and a button over here, something like this one. Okay, something like this one over here. So let me try to reformat it a bit. So let's see how it going now. Okay, so this has created my search bar as well as this search button over here. Okay, so there is nothing fancy over here. Now we need to do little bit of placing over here. I want this guy to show up over here at that end, and this guy little bit right side over here. Okay, so let us make those changes. So there is this very simple change. If you remember, like in the simple navbar, we discussed about that fluid equals to true, right? So that same thing we can do to achieve this one. So fluid equals to true is a container property, right? So if I just go back to layout and see the documentation for container, so there is a input called fluid. So if true, the container fluid class will be applied and the container will expand to fill the available space, right? That is what we wanted to achieve now. So let us do that one now. So what I'll do is for the container, so copy, I'll go back to my code. So this is my container and it is saved over here, right? So that means inside this container, so this is where the container array is getting end over here, right? So after that, what I'll do is I'll say fluid equals to true over here. Okay, so once I do that, it should make use of this available space over here, if you see it. Okay, if you do not want that, you can still make it as fluid equals to true, fluid equals to false over here. Okay, there are a lot of advantages of that fluid equals to false. If you see the documentation, like for a non-fluid container, so there are a lot of different breakpoints. Breakpoints means like based on the screen size, like small, medium, large, XL, double XL. So these are called like the breakpoints. So you can basically choose how to display your website or display your app over there. Okay, there are a lot of other settings as well over there. So I am not going to that level. Probably if in future it's required, I'll cover it over here. Okay, but that is possible, but that is only possible if you are using a non-fluid container over here. Okay, so also just like we are doing this align equals to center for all the different rows, right? So I will just apply this one over here so that we will have uniform formatting for all our different rows here. Okay, so let me remove this one. So this should be fine. So this is our row level details. So now if I just go back over here, according to our picture, I want to shift this second rows little bit left hand side over here, right? So there could be two approaches. The approach I have taken is either, let's see, if I have another element, if I am just ingesting it over here, so that would basically make it as shifting this guy over here, or you can basically use different CSS over here. Probably I'll show you if I just go to inspect and this one here. So these are the gaps over here, if you see it. Okay, so these gaps are created because of this justify content equals to space between. So you can play around with this CSS to achieve that one only for this row. So probably in the future videos I will be covering this integrating custom CSS in your Dash apps. Probably that time we will try to implement it with this one. Okay, but for now let's see if we can implement it with some other way. So now there is one thing I have not covered. If I just make smaller this particular screen, if you see, like there are a lot of elements it is showing up now. Okay, now there is a option, like if you want to hide something, if you are making this particular window smaller, and instead of this many number of element, you can just simply show a toggle bar. Okay, so that if you click that, only then it will be showing up over there. So this type of things you can achieve as well in the Dash Navbar using the Nav Toggler and as well as the collapse. Okay, so let me add a Nav Toggler over here. If you go back to the documentation again for the Navbar, if you see, this is the way they have implemented it. So there is a Nav Toggler and there is a collapse over here. This is how it will work. If I make this window smaller, if you see it, like those search text box and the search button is gone now. Instead of that, this guy came over here. If I click on this one, so this should basically show me this search box and the search button. Similar kind of behavior. Okay, so for that I'll just try to show you a very simple example today. So what we'll do is we will add this toggler in our layout, right? So we will add before this guy, so that it will basically push this guy somewhere over here. Okay, so before this radio buttons over here, so I can add it, because these are all like the container elements, right? The first row, the second row and the third row, right? So between second row and third row I can add this guy over here. If I just save it, and if I just make this window smaller, if you see it, like this guy is appearing over here. Okay, so now what I will do is I will add these elements inside a collapse. So if I just show you how the collapse works, this is the documentation of the collapse over here. Okay, so I have already opened it over here. So collapse means you will be basically by button click you will be showing or hiding something over here, just like if you see it, right? So maybe a simple example, like if I just click on over here, this particular div is getting shown up over here. If I just click on again, it will be vanished over here. So you can achieve it using this collapse and a callback over here, because it's a button click event, we need to handle it over here, right? So similar stuff I will be doing it here. So what I'll do is these things, right? So this whole navigation stuff, I'll put it inside a collapse over here. So what I'll do is I will make it a good formatting. I will copy this DBC collapse here, and I need to close it over here somewhere here. Okay, so once I do that, it requires three things. It requires an ID, because I need to access it in my callback. There is a property called isOpen equals to false, isOpen and navbar, right? So if we see the documentation, isOpen means whether the collapse is currently open or not. So initially we will make it as not open by making it as false. When our window will be smaller and when I'll click that Toggler, right? So that will be opened over here, and as we are putting it inside the Navbar, so I'll be giving this one over here. So let me put an ID here. So what I'll do is, let me put an ID over here, comma ID equals to, so my ID, let's put as Navbar, COLLAPSE, and let's put is open equals to false, is underscore open equals to false over here, and as well as navbar equals to true, as we are putting it inside a navbar, right? So true here. Okay, so this should make this columns configured over here. So if I just go back now, okay, and also I can just directly keep it inside a call as well over here. Okay, so it will create a column and then it will shift it over there. So let me see that. Okay, so now it is shifted a bit. We have a toggler over here which is by default not visible. Once you move this one, it will be visible. And if you see, my search box is not showing up over here. If I click on this one, it should show me the search box, but it is still not showing up because I have not added that callback. So let me add that. So I can simply go back to this documentation and add this callback, because this is how it will be, because it's just like making that particular collapse true or false. There is nothing fancy here. So let me try to explain it. So I need first output input state, so that I can copy it from here, I think here, dash dependencies. So let us import those stuff. You already know how to work with output and input in our callback. State I have still not discussed, so probably in next video I'll be talking about state. So that's why I'm just explaining. State means the current state of that button, whether it's already clicked or not, right? So if you see, there is a n clicks over here. So initialized, I have initialized as 0 over here, right? So when you click that particular Nav Toggler, that's why I have given this ID over here, okay? And that will go and as an input, as well as the state of the nav collapse, which is basically the currently its is open is false, that will also go over here as an input. So if it is open, that means if it is false, it will make it as true, something like this behavior, right? So when I go back here, and initially if it is visible, if I click again, it should make it as invisible. Okay, so if I click on it, it should make it as visible. If I click on it again, it should disable it. It should basically make it as invisible over here. So similar kind of stuff. If it is open, make it as false. If it is closed, make it as true over here. That is what it is doing it over here. Okay, that's why it is running non is open, that opposite state over here. So once we have this, if I just go back and this window, and if I just click on over here, this guy will show up over here. Okay, so this is how you can implement a toggler over here as well. Even you can apply this one for these guys as well, so that for smaller screen nothing will show up. Once you click on it, this guy will show up. Even we can do further formatting of making these guys coming as a separate row as well. That also we can do, but I am not going to that level, because primarily I will be intending to make this app available for only the bigger screen desktop version. So that's why I'm not going to that level, but you can achieve those level as well, so that the same thing will be shown properly in smaller screen as well over there. Okay, so everything is done. One thing is, like, if I click on my fundamentals, so it is like still going to my home page over here, right? So I need to fix that one. So for that, what I'll need to do is I need to create a new file here called fundamentals tals.py, fundamentals.py. Now inside my fundamentals.py, so I need to write the basic code. Like basically I need to create this page layout, right? Fundamentals page layout, just like we did it for our other pages over here, like the showcase page as well as the other pages. Okay, like in the showcase page we have created this particular layout here, right? So let me copy the required libraries over here in my fundamentals.py as well. Okay, in my page I'll just create a div, correct? Now inside the div, the first thing I'll be providing is my layout, basically the navigation bar. So I can copy this guy, navigation bar, correct? Navigation.navbar. I need to import this guy. So similarly from apps, I'll just import navigation bar, and I can provide an h3 just like over here, so that in future we can make it as change. So I'll just copy this guy over here. As currently we do not have any content in our page, so I'll just make it as this is fundamental page, like deep. So in this page I am just intending to cover the fundamentals of deep learning through an interactive way. Deep learning fundamentals page here. Okay, so once we have that, we will go to our index.py. Here the routing is happening here, right? Basically that multi-page app routing is happening. So we will add if my path name double equals to this fundamentals, because that is what we have set it as well here, right? /fundamentals when I'll be clicking that link. So that thing we will be checking it as well over here. So once we are trying to get the fundamentals page, so I will just display the fundamentals page layout. So for that I need to include that fundamentals page here, and then I can write fundamentals dot page layout over here, correct? Whatever that this particular variable we have defined it over here. So that should fix my routing issue, correct? So if I refresh it now, if I just click on the let it deploy it, is there any error? ID as a value h3. So let me see. Okay, I have not created that array here, so that should fix that issue here. Okay, so let me try to run it again. Yeah, I think now it is fine. So once it is getting deployed, if I just click on fundamentals, so it is going to this deep learning fundamentals page. If I click on home, this is going to my home page. This is going to my model showcase page, where we already have used basically this RESTnet 50 to classify something. Now I have kept this drop down over here for future purpose. We will see that what's going on. And if I click on this GitHub, it should take me to our app code. In GitHub, it should open my Twitter here if you see it, and it should open my algorithm channel over here as well. So all the links are working. We will see what such functionality we can provide for our app in future as well. Okay, so for now I just wanted to create that skeleton and just wanted to show you how you can control each and every element of a Navbar using that Navbar for that dash bootstrap component over here. Okay, so hopefully this video was helpful. See you in the next video.